big deal. Okey-dokey. Tunes or something. Okay, folks, let's get started with warm-up. So I actually feel pretty good today, which is sort of unusual. I'm gonna lift this guy up. Get a bird's eye view here. I'll tip that down. That's probably pretty good, I think. Yeah, so, what I will typically do normally, so today, today's a strength and recovery day. So we're gonna do a leg exercise, we're gonna do an upper body exercise, possibly two, and then we're gonna do something that's either core or core related, kettlebell related, or something that's a bit more complex. And yeah, we're just gonna be doing some rolling or stretching in between each one. But we will open up with a little bit of that right now. So, as always, grab your light weights. So I've got a couple of 3-pounders here. So chest up, shoulders back, right? Chest up, shoulders back. And we're gonna draw a big circle going up the middle, down the back. Keeping thumb positioned up, so thumb is up. And I come back behind, thumb is still up. Inhale on the way up. Exhale on the way down. Do about 10 of these. These are just 3-pounders. You can use anything from 2 to 5 pounds is good. And I guess a rule of thumb here, because reps are sort of arbitrary, a rule of thumb here would be when you start to feel, when you start to feel a little bit of not burning per se, but you're starting to feel that build up, then that's a good time to stop and then switch sides. Because we want to get some blood delivery, want to get some warmth in there. If I could pick a number, really anywhere from 10 to 20 reps would be good. Okay, now we're going to go out to the side and across. So moving in the frontal plane now. If you've been following these videos, you'll have noticed the past while that we've been doing these pretty well every session. I don't always include it in the videos, but pretty well any session that I do, like any of my workouts, I always open up with this stuff. And this just, it's really important to have some consistency in your training, because when certain things are consistent, you notice when something's not right. But if you're constantly changing things, your internal gauge is all whacked out. Don't lead. So what I mean by that is, right, don't follow your arm. Stay tall, shoulder down and back. Okay, we're gonna lift those elbows up, slightly below the shoulders is good. We won't come all the way as high as the shoulders. Generally, you're not gonna be able to have quite that much range of motion, especially when we get into that internal rotation. So it's gonna force you to hike up, which you really don't want. We want to try to mobilize our shoulders through their stablest position, which means shoulders need to be down and back. We want those scapula to be as fixed to the rib cage as possible when we're supporting load overhead. So elbows just below the shoulders. We're going to rotate up and rotate down. We're emphasizing the rotating up though. That's what we're really after. So that external rotation in a packed shoulder position. Packed meaning shoulder blade, scapula is affixed to the rib cage. And concomitantly, we have some mid-back activation with that preferably, right? So mid-traps and rhomboids are engaged in doing their thing. Now, when you come down into internal rotation, we're resisting gravity. All you need to do is let the bell descend on its own while you resist it. Don't actively push down per se. And what we really don't want is you trying to get as far as you can and that pulling your shoulders out of, and your posture, out of our stable position or even just our original position. We want to maintain some neutrality with the posture so that we can focus just on mobilizing through the shoulder. Okay, that's good. We're going to tuck those elbows in and then just swing out to the side. I'll usually grab a couple of 15-pounders and do this just because this movement, unless you have a band, it's pretty easy with just a couple light weights. So, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, that's good. Get rid of that guy. Grab a hip circle, step in, this guy goes above knee. If you want more resistance, you can put it around the ankles, but if it's a really tight band, don't put it around the ankles. Keep it above thigh and just do more reps. And we'll just go back and forth here, just get a little bit of action in the glutes. I feel like I'm square dancing here. Not that I've ever square danced before. Starting to feel a little bit of burn happening. If you don't have a band, you can lie on the floor and do some glute lifts. Will work just as well here. Or some clamshells. Do a quick Google, you'll find what those are. Or even just standing and moving your leg out to the side, but really focusing on squeezing through the glute to do that. Okay, that's good. I actually did some deadlifts yesterday, standard deadlifts, bilateral, from the box. So, from the jerk boxes there. So with about a 6-inch lift, just so I could take a little bit extra strain off the back and just assist my recovery because I'm working out every day and doing a lot of kettlebells, which is a lot of hinging. So trying to give my back a break there. So I don't feel particularly bad today. But what we will do is I'll still do single leg deadlifts, really emphasizing stiff leg position. So you'll need your kettlebell. I've explained these in the past. So kettlebell in hand. We're going to start standing on the left foot, which means I want you to have the bell in the right hand. We want to lead with the free leg, so the one that you're not standing on. We want to pull that leg back as far as we can. You're going to feel that glute kick on and get really tight. And that's going to help us connect our entire body from the foot up to the top of the head. If we have that nice straight connected line, our chances of maintaining our balance are much better because now we're connected. There's no slack in the system. So lead with that back leg and lift, lift, lift. And that's going to tip the rest of your body forward. So we have this reciprocating action. My leg goes up and my torso goes forward. Squeeze your bum of the supporting leg to get back up. So I'm moving into that position and then thinking about squeezing this glute. And that's going to bring my hips into extension. Let's go for 10 reps per side. If you only have one kettlebell or one weight, and one that is not particularly heavy, say one that you use for your normal kettlebell sports stuff, I want you to do 20 reps per side. Not too fast on the way down. And 10. Good. Switching. Think about keeping yourself square to the floor. So I'm thinking about keeping my hips square, thinking about keeping my shoulders square. And 10. Fantastico. All right, set that guy down. So I'm going to increase my weight just because I have lots of different weights to use. But again, if you just have one weight and you're working with that, do 20 reps per side, and then we're going to cut you down to 15 reps per side on your second set. You go right up to the screen, guy. Okay, next set. Now for all these, take 30 seconds to a minute in between your sets. That'll be ample. For your strength days, we really don't want to push the pace too much. We want to take it slow, go through the paces, focus on being not relaxed, but recovered enough in between sets that we're confident that we're going to be able to hit every single rep without having to stop and reset. If you feel like your heart rate's gotten up at the end of your set, I want you to bring that heart rate back down to at least 120 BPM. Okay, 10 reps. Fell over. Try that one again. 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're not feeling your hamstrings starting to stretch, don't come back up yet, right? Look for that hamstring stretch. So I just feel my hamstring now, and now I'm going to come up, but not before. 10, good. Switching. Hips and shoulders square. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. Good. Again, if you only have one bell, I want you to do 15 per side. Otherwise, you can just follow me. It's not a big deal. Boom. Make sure that you're hydrated. But this won't be one of those workouts where you need to take in 4 liters of water, because it's not that kind of workout. Okay, next set. Nice and slow. Don't let that rear leg fall behind. It's the rear leg that does the driving. Up, up, up with that rear leg. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switching. Okay, yeah, I'll stay there. So I'm gonna keep that weight. I'm gonna do 2 more sets. Get that butt working. Now with the standard deadlift, so 2 feet on the ground from the floor or even from a little bit of a lift, I don't feel my glutes a tremendous amount. In an isolation sense, I tend to feel a bit more back bracing. Obviously the load is more when I'm doing the 2-foot variation, but when I do the single leg deadlifts, I feel like I have a really good opportunity to really tune into my glutes, one at a time, of course. So in a hypertrophy sense, but also in just a body awareness sense, I really like the single leg deadlifts. That being said, because you're doing one leg at a time, your back gets a lot of reps. So when you're doing your single leg deadlift, obviously your back has to be engaged to maintain your flat back, but you're doing twice as many reps of that for the back, because you have to do your first leg and then you have to do your other leg. So it's not unusual for you to feel like your back is getting tired on single leg deadlift variations. But that's really good because arguably the paraspinal network works more so in an endurance sense rather than in an absolute strength sense. Those are muscles, along with the rest of your abdominal wall, they work mainly in an endurance sense. They're always firing to keep you upright during the day, right? They're not so much a strength set of muscles as opposed to more of endurance-based muscles. So. Okay, next set. All right, 30 seconds to a minute rest.
I'm just an accident waiting.
do our last set here. Make sure I'm in frame. Not too fast on the way down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, good stuff. All right. Okay, you're gonna grab a lacrosse ball. You can use a tennis ball. It's not ideal because we want something that's dense that won't collapse. Because tennis balls are hollow, they collapse, and we're not able to get the sort of pressure that we're looking for. This is a training lacrosse ball. It's a little softer than the standard ones. I tend to prefer the harder ones, especially for the glutes. This one's good for the mid-back. But I can't find my other one, so I'm gonna use this one today. So this guy, we're sticking it glute med, right? So halfway point IT band, just behind and high up the butt, right in there. Just start with some broad strokes. So we're gonna roll across, and then you're gonna look for those particular tight spots. So really try to hunt down that tension. So, on the wall, this guy, place it on the wall, get your butt in there, and then just start with some broad spectrum rolling across. So, you sort of follow just inside the hip crest, so to speak. So just inferior to the hip crest. Sort of follow that groove and follow it across towards the glutes. Okay, I'm going to position a little bit closer to the midway point, so more towards that IT band. I'm going to do some rotations, so I'm turning that knee in and then turning that knee out. And I'm just trying to create some friction against the ball as those muscles elongate and shorten. And you can always readjust if you feel like you're not quite the right spot. Then I like to do some flexion and extension. Again, just hunting down the spots where I feel that friction. Okay, I'm going to switch sides. Broad strokes. And I'm going to start those rotations. So swinging that knee in, swing the knee out. So this is internal and external rotation for the hip. And then some extension and flexion. Techniques, depending on what you feel. Okay, so I have shown you guys the Z-sit stretch. This is a good option for people who have a little bit harder time getting down to the floor. Bench. I suppose you could use a chair as well. Where you're going to straddle the bench, you're going to bring one foot up, lay it on its side, and the less flexible you are, start further away. But generally, I won't really come all that close. I will keep generally at least a foot length of distance between my heel and my groin. And I feel just like that is the most optimal distance for me to get the torque that I'm looking for on my hip. So I'm going to position a foot length away. I'm going to lift through the chest, so I'm elongating the spine. So I'm pulling slack out of my spine so that I can leverage the stretch across the hip. So chest up, I'm gripping the bench, and I'm going to pull on the bench to flex me at the hip, and that's going to intensify the stretch. Now one thing that you might notice that I'm doing as I do this is I'm using my elbow to apply pressure down on my thigh to really emphasize that abduction and external rotation. But really focus on staying long through the spine here. So lift up through the top of the head, chin out, and then just deep breaths. We're just going to hold this position. Switch. So about a foot length away. Chest up, gripping the bench. Pulling in and applying a little bit of pressure down on that thigh. This leg I'm just trying to keep relaxed. Emphasize length in the spine here. You may notice I'm nowhere near as flexible on this side as the other side, which has been a source of a problem for me. So generally when I'm doing this type of stretch, I usually avoid doing the right side altogether and just try to work on the left side to bring it up to closer to symmetry. Okay, that's good. Moving on. Do some chest press. We're going to do this one arm at a time, so alternating. And I'll do this from incline setting. I'm going to do one warm-up set. I got a couple 25s. I'm going to park my butt. I've got the weights on my thighs, close to the knees, and I'm going to use my legs to kick these bells up into my start position. I prefer to get started in the overhead so that I can start with that eccentric motion on the way down to load through the chest and then extend. I generally recommend not starting here on your repetition. I guess I don't really have a great rationale for that outside of just picking them up into the overhead allows you to focus on getting your shoulders set up and taking that time before you actually start your rep. But it can be a little more tricky for some people. Okay, so pick them up. I'm going to set my shoulders. I'm going to make sure my feet are where I want them. Inhale and exhale. As on my warm-up, I'm just going to do both arms at the same time here. I'm keeping constant pressure, or not pressure, but a constant activity in my scapula. I'm constantly pulling my shoulder blades back. And that's allowing me to keep the load on the chest. It's important on the press out that you don't roll your shoulders forward and take them off the bench. Keep your shoulders pulled back into the bench. Okay, that's good. Do a couple of curls for good measure. Always got to throw those in. A little pause and squeeze at the top. Keep your elbows back. Don't throw the weights up. Stay nice and tall with your posture. Don't swing. Try to stay relatively still. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna set those down and save those for later. I'm gonna ball up to the 40s. Okay, so like I said before, I'm gonna alternate these. So I'm gonna start with weights in the overhead, and I'm gonna keep one bell up as I bring the other down. Again, thinking about connection, keeping the body connected. Sometimes you may notice people do the foot dance on their bench press. Not a great strategy. We want to plant the feet and use those for leverage if we can, but at the very least, just keeping those stable so that we can focus on what we're actually doing in that moment. There's no reason why your feet should be dancing around as you're pressing out the weight. So think about organizing your body. That's a really important concept. Organize the body. Get organized before you start your activity, and keep it organized as you're doing the activity. Okay, let's pop them up. So, in the overhead, I'm just gonna set my shoulders. I got my feet where I want them. One bell down, and press out. Other bell down, and press out. And I'm gonna go until I feel like I'm within a few reps of failure. So, using the reps in reserve method, try to keep a couple of reps in reserve. Don't let your elbows drift higher than your armpits. So what I mean by that is don't let your elbows drift towards your head. Okay, grab those 25s. Chest up, shoulders back, elbows tucked into the sides. And we'll hit some of those curls. The sun is out. you got your back up against the wall. Stay nice and tall, shoulders back. Think about keeping your elbows against that wall too. Okay, that's good. Generally, I'll count my reps. I'm not really counting them right now. Just going strictly by feel. Okay, so I'm gonna move up to, let's go right to the 60s. They might be 65s, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. We're just doing some for a few. That's how it works. Grab a sweet wah-wah. If you're going on an incline, unless your weights are really light, kick that seat up into an angle. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself sliding forward. Okay. So, I'll generally pick these right up off the floor. But not everyone might be able to do that. In which case, you might just want to stick to a barbell. But if you have a tactic for being able to do that, then that's good. As those weights get heavier, it does get more challenging to kick these guys up. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of momentum. There we go. Okay, grab those 25s. Chest up, shoulders back. Keep that chest up, shoulders back, elbows back. Your goal is to hit failure or to approach failure. Your goal isn't to do as many reps as you can, or sorry, as many reps as possible. You do want to do as many reps as you can, but it needs to be within the constraints of the best possible form, the form that elicits the most challenge in respect to hypertrophy and this kind of strength training. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do one more set of those. Take a little bit of time here. Feeling a little tight in the chest. Getting lots of blood flow there now, so all those fibers are filling up the space, or filling up with fluid, I guess I should say. Now, as far as static stretching goes on your strength stuff, there's a little bit of evidence to suggest that you don't want to stretch the muscle that you're training during your set in the interest of maintaining your strength. And hypertrophy, I'm not sure if that applies as well. Generally, we look at these two things individually because they're two different adaptations, right? Related, but different. So you will potentially weaken the muscle neuromuscularly if you stretch the agonist muscle. However, if you stretch the antagonist muscle, then that's okay, and it might even incur a benefit. I forget. I'll have to double check that. This is one of those minutiae, though, that, you know, is really not a deal breaker. Okay, last set. Okay, popped up. Take these back home. Okay, one more set of guns. So elbow is swinging a little forward there, but generally you want to think about pulling that elbow back. I prefer to supinate. I like the way it feels better, as opposed to doing a hammer curl where I keep the thumb up. I prefer to turn the pinky in. That is I don't know if you'd quite say a secondary action, but that is an action of the bicep. It will rotate the radial bone outwards as it contracts. That would technically be the fullest range of motion for the bicep. And the literature indicates that the fuller range of motion that you go, or the larger the range of motion, the better hypertrophy that you get. Marginal, but nevertheless. All right, fantastic. Super duper. All right. I really don't want to tire my shoulders out, but we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do some Gladiator press. Oh, before we do that, we need to do some myofascial. So what I'm gonna do, see if we can position this. Actually, the bench works okay for this. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get into my pec minor, essentially the junction of where the shoulder meets the chest. Really try to dig into there. That can be prone to tightness specifically. So right where that little divot is, more or less, that's where I'm gonna try to stick that ball. And I'm really gonna try to get some pressure into it. And at the base requirement here is apply pressure and get that ball rolling, right? Apply some movement or some friction. And then what I'm gonna do is incorporate some motion through that joint. Lots of different vectors, so sagittal, frontal, I guess we might generally call that. So I'm trying to open up through the chest and then close it, but also elevate and down, and more or less just circular. Hit as many angles as I can, get that friction happening. So the one way that I can do this is set this guy on the bench and then lie down on the bench. Let's drop this guy down. Normally I'll do this in a doorway. So, ball on the bench, and I'm gonna dig that in there. And the thing that we're looking for is we want some space here. So I couldn't do this on the floor because then I'd be forced into a position where my arm can only be back here. I want room to be able to move my arm. Oh, sweet mama. So, now again, you can just start with just applying some pressure in the first place. So you can just lie here, that's good. Breathe into it. You can think about moving your body up and down. It feels a little ropey. Get to a little bit of a different angle here. But again, standing in a door jamb is a good way to do this. So you just put the ball on the door jamb. Okay, I'm gonna incorporate some movement. So there's the ball. And I'm moving forward and back, forward and back. So that's lengthening and shortening the muscle fibers as I apply pressure to them. Relax your head. Breathe through it. I'm gonna open up to the side and back down. Keep pressure. Actually, what's nice about this is I can bring my arm all the way across midline. So you can see, if this were a wall, I wouldn't be able to move my arm through the wall. It's not a huge deal, but it's nice. And then, I'm just going circular right now. Oh, man. Okay, that's good. I'm going to switch sides. So, ball towards that junction. And then I'll just start with applying some pressure. It's a little bit easier to control how much pressure you put in to it when you're in the door jamb. Okay, up and down. I'm breathing with the motions. Okay, out to the side. I'll try not to hit the camera. As you open up, make sure you're not pulling weight off the ball. Keep pressure in as you open up. Broad spectrum motion. If you really want to cause yourself some pain, you can pull that arm behind so that we're getting that chest into a very maximally stretched position, and then apply that pressure. Oh, ropey. Okay, that's good. All right, moving on to our Gladiator press. Okay, Gladiator press is a side plank combination. I don't know what you call it, side press. But essentially, we're getting into our side plank, and with the dumbbell in hand, you're gonna drag it up along the body and then extend the arm straight out overhead. And what that's doing is changing your center of mass a little bit. So because we're putting, well, it depends on how heavy you go. At the very least, because you have some additional weight up there, it's gonna throw your balance off, right? And the heavier that weight is, it really starts to lift that center of mass a little bit and make you more unstable, which challenges your core more, right? Let's do 30 seconds aside, 30 seconds rest, and we'll do that 3 times through. I'm going to use a 15-pound weight. I like to be a little bit more challenging. I could go heavier, but for 30 seconds or more, 15. I guess I could go heavier, but it's not a competition. Okay, 30 seconds aside, and we'll go 30 seconds rest. 3 times through. Starting in 10 seconds. Okay, here we go. Keep your feet stacked. Touch the floor each time. Not sort of touch the floor, but touch the floor. Switch sides. Okay, 30-second rest. I'm going to bump up. Seconds. All right, here we go. Pop it up. Lock it in. Right? Lock. Set down. Lock. Don't try to rush in and out of it. Maintain length through the body. Keep the body tight. Switch. Oh God. set that elbow up underneath the shoulder, so not out here, underneath, and you want to pull that shoulder down and back, really get these muscles engaging as well as those muscles. Right, we want to hug that in, suck it back. I'm going to put those 25s. Down. Okay, here we go, last set. Okay, switch. Stuff. Okay. All right. So now let's do a little bit of dowel stretching. Okay, so a dowel is just a stick. So if you have a broomstick, that will be perfectly fine. Okay, let's drop this down a little bit. No, that's good. All right, so we'll start with some wrist mobilizations. So palms up, you're gonna grip one end. The other hand stays free. You can just start by sliding it in and out of the free hand. Okay, but we maintain this grip. We always maintain this grip at the end. Okay, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay, we're gonna add in something. We're gonna come in, and you're gonna roll that tight wrist. Okay, we're gonna come in, and you're gonna roll that tight wrist. Let's bring it back out. Slide, roll. Back out, slide, roll. Okay, so we start with sliding. Slide, slide, slide. Maintain your grip. Slide in, roll. Let's slide out. Slide in, roll. Slide out, slide in, roll, slide out, slide in, roll, slide out, slide in. And then just loosen up. Keep chest up, shoulders back. I'm trying to maintain my grip as I roll, and I'm coming out with more or less a grip like that. So still fairly tight as far as that inverted grip goes. And all that's really accomplishing is we're just getting that little bit of stretch across that forearm, and we're getting some internal rotation for the shoulder, so a little mobilization there. Okay, we're gonna switch. All we have to do is come out, and we're gonna grip the opposite end, and then we're gonna free up that other hand. Right, so we've switched sides now. Now we're gripping with the left, sliding with the right. In, out, slide, slide, slide. We're gonna slide in and we're gonna roll. Slide out, slide in, roll, slide out, slide in, roll, slide out, slide in, roll, slide out, slide in, roll. Slide, roll, slide, slide, roll, slide, slide, roll, slide, slide, roll, slide, slide, roll. Is that getting annoying yet? Chest up, shoulders back. Okay, that's good. We're gonna bring this guy behind the back, palms forward. We're gonna start with a wide position. So I've got this just the top of my pelvis. So, well, top of the sacrum. Firm grip. I'm gonna really focus on packing those shoulders in. So I'm really retracting real tight. That's creating an anchor for me so that I can make that overhead pass. And I'm coming over and I'm trying to maintain as tight a grip as I can, which when you're doing both sides at the same time, it really forces you to stay square. So it's gonna really limit that range of motion. So I'm just barely hooking on with the fingers there. But that little bit is really incurring some intense stretch through my forearm. And that's what we're really looking for this one. This is a forearm stretch. We're gonna come back over. And of course, it's in combination with a shoulder mobilization as we go overhead, right? Now, as I go overhead, I wanna make sure I'm not hiking up the shoulders. I'm trying to keep them down. I also wanna make sure that I'm not going into a sway back position. Okay, come down. We're gonna hold that, stretch those forearms, and back over. Let's do one more. Inhale, exhale. Stretch, stretch, stretch. That's good. Boing. Okay, a couple more. Torch position. Flip it over, bring it alongside the arm. I prefer this higher up the arm, so where the bicep meets the shoulder, as opposed to down here at the elbow. Let's keep it up here. I'm gonna close this space, so I'm gonna tighten up through the lats in my chest and close that armpit gap. That's gonna allow me greater control, put me in a safer position for my shoulder, and then I'm gonna start to apply some torque. So I'm just lifting up on the dowel, and that's cranking my humeral bone into external rotation. But you'll notice that my elbow is more or less facing forward. It's not swung out to the side, which I tend to see a lot of people do. That's not really where we want you to be. We want you to close this gap so that it's not as uncomfortable and it feels more stable for the shoulder. And we're just keeping constant pressure on that. Deep breaths. I'm going to maintain my bottom grip. And I'm going to let go of the top. And now I'm back in my torch grip, right? So I'm just going to go right to the other side. Again, close that armpit gap. Apply some pressure. Shoulders down and back, chest up. I tend to also see people when they start this stretch, they let themselves turn right over. Obviously, if you're moving with the direction of the force, then you're not going to get much stretch, right? And we need to hold our place, hold our position while we apply that force. Okay, I'm going to let go of the bottom. I'm going to maintain my top grip. I'm going to go inside the shoulder blade. I'm going to grip low. I like to bring that down into more or less a straight arm position. I'm going to gently pull down on the top, and that's going to stretch the anterior compartment of the shoulder of the low gripping arm. And again, one thing I noticed that people do here is they forget about their posture and they end up here. Chest up, shoulders back, right? We need to maintain our position for that stretch to work. Don't crank it too hard. It's nice that there's a little bit of flex in these PVC pipes though. Gives you a little bit of a buffer to work with so it doesn't feel quite as intense. That's good. I'm gonna release. I'm gonna switch overhead. Switch my arms up, chest up, shoulders back. Apply a little bit of pressure. So again, anterior compartment, you can see that stretching out, right? And that's good. All right, guys, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will catch you at the next one. Tomorrow being Thursday, and that's going to be, I think we're doing a snatch workout, I think. Anyways, we'll catch you then. See you guys.